Hello, and welcome to a new edition of Education is the Best Medicine. And thanks for watching. And remember, public access is your best bet, or watch whenever you can. I want to thank everyone for stopping by. Today is kind of our legacy show. It's a show about change, and so excited to be here. It's been a very busy couple of weeks for me, starting a new position and learning some of the lifelong learning, basically, just really lifelong learning. And one should never be afraid of lifelong learning. You want to continue it, and I'm so blessed to be in a profession where I'm able to continue to learn. I think we as we age need to have that. And wanted to say a special shout out to Lynn and Shailene, who helped me with this little journey here. I was working with two magnificent PAs who have been training me, and just excited for the future of PAs if these are what's coming through the doors, and I think so. Want to say hello to my granddaughter and grandchildren and Tracy. We gotta get hooked up here. A few things going on, but again, challenging last couple of weeks, but with challenge comes change and growth. And I'm excited about that. I think everyone's trying to move forward differently, and it's difficult. And I just want to thank you for being a part of this and launching my website, educationisthebestmedicine.com. It's educationisthebestmedicine.com. Going to start to rev that up and start putting on articles, and my colleague and helping me realize this dream, Edie Akamoto, is going to be directing me about articles and bringing folks on the right. So I'm looking forward to that. So give it a look. And I think kind of want to talk about more about avoiding toxicity and therefore the trauma that goes with that. And I just think we need to work on that. I know it's real difficult right now to live better, to have good vibes, and I think that the new leader of the Democratic Party is talking about a very positive outlook toward the country. And I think we should appreciate that as opposed to one of negativity. Joy, what's wrong with being happy? We have been through a very tumultuous period. COVID's still alive and kicking, folks. Please get vaccinated, and as the time becomes appropriate and you're in certain settings, wear your mask. I'm still wearing mine in my clinical settings because this seems to be a little bit more, I don't want to be dark, it just seems to be more of a multiplier and an ability to transmit real quickly. So as we go back and go into inside in the winter months, just have to be careful. It's just one of the things we're going to have to deal with, and just be mindful of it. And again, love your thoughts on my website and the kind of conversation I'm trying to frame. Want to say rest in peace and power to Max Anderson. I may have said this before. Max Anderson, Berkeley City Councilman, representing Berkeley. And I had that chance not only to be a friend, but be mentored by him. Max was always on the cutting edge, I thought, in terms of community access and service, and in terms of public-private partnerships. He didn't have an agenda. His agenda was the people's agenda. And us working together was just a magnificent experience for me. And it's one of the people that I think that kind of grounded me in that discussion around ethics and respect and honesty. And he was and tried to bring about peaceful and constructive change with everyone at the table, every voice at the table. I just want to say condolences to his wife, and he recently had a coming home ceremony that I wasn't able to attend, but I really want to wish him in his peaceful rest. And I guess the world is really weird. It's really weird. And I guess that presents the state of affairs, and it makes you kind of have to, stick and move. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, Ali, right? And never never want to return, never want to go back. All these things are starting to resonate. And 1619 is, alive and well. And I just like to say, and publicly note that I was not really a fan of Kamala Harris, but watched her rise, and it was significant that, she was really functioning at her highest level in a very male, patriarchal, machismo environment. And I think she always maintained her ethics and her ladyhood. So I think that I'm just speaking to some of the things on the internet and some of the things that show her scantily clad or whatever, but she was a young woman at that time, living the life of a young woman. So let her be, it's not fair. She shouldn't be traumatized for living her life. And so I think that she makes sense. And I kind of want to say that and kind of layer that into, again, a message of hope and change, and now joy and freedom. And it's kind of placed about issue on freedom for, right to your body, freedom for, right to vote, freedom for a right to be the president of the United States. So those are the issues that are being addressed in her message. And to bring a sense of just not joy, but hope. So joy says that, you are a happy person at best. You're not a downer. You're not trying to bring people down. You want them to be the best they can be. You want to celebrate their successes. And I guess that as opposed to the hell in a handbasket philosophy regarding the current state of America, I think it's a distraction. Look no further than Project 2025. And now people are getting into it. And I'm hearing it. And, it's a document that from a conservative viewpoint, conservative, right? Staunch conservative, review definition of conservative. But the conservative is also at some point in time was considered to be compassionate, but no longer. It's hardcore conservatism. With a nationalist tilt. That's why her message is resonating, because it's speaking to everybody, not just a select few, not just the rich, just not if your skin tone happens to be white. And we'll kind of address that issue around mixed race. It's this Project 25 again, attacking, making draconian intrusions. Some of the stuff around birth control, they want to stop all contraception. Basically, they want to prevent the use of chemical contraception. And again, a refusal to talk about the true aims of this document says that you would create something that you wouldn't use. I don't think so. And I guess also, he doesn't say he's not against it. Mr. Trump doesn't say he's not against it, but he just doesn't want to be associated with it in the cascade of all the lights that's being shown on it, and that the picking apart of this document shows how lethal it would be if they return to office. So, hope, change, to join freedom, and the vision to see things yet unseen. And to begin and bring light to a very dark community and world. Words like democracy and balance, statement like unleash hell on earth. What are you for? In my life, I never thought I'd see a true battle for the hearts and minds of America. And I want to thank President Joe Biden for understanding that it's not the person, it's not the party, it's the country, it's America. It's Americans. That's what he did. And that's how he should be remembered. Any of his legislative accomplishments paled in comparison to his stature in my mind as a man, and a man that loves his country. And the discussion around Americans, fake Americans, not, the discussion around what kind of American? Fake Americans, not violent Americans, Americans that don't manipulate the process to their own gain, Americans that want to have the system torn down, but true Americans. And I've never been a person to automatically back politics or candidates. I tend to have a very jaded opinion of the American judicial and political system. And yes, I'm biased. I've been biased since 1619. And I will continue to do so until it's acknowledged and the rights and wrongs of this are addressed. And I think part of the election of Kamala Harris is that step in that direction. But again, it's not about me anymore. It's about my granddaughter and their ability to control their bodies and their ability to vote. Think 2025 Conservative Manifesto, a blueprint, or Trump 2.0. Imagine Trump in office a second time. Retribution, turning the judicial system on itself. It's scary. And, in the discussion of black jobs, I want to know what a black job is. A young African-American female gymnast represented her black job by being the best gymnast in the world. I guess that's a black job for me. And I always say that, one of the reasons I do this show is I think that we need a perspective that's different from the mainstream perspective. And see things, again, as I see them, from my lens as an African-American man in America. No axe to grind, no money to be made. just understanding that we need our voices heard. And I want to thank all the Facebook folks for listening and appreciate you. Interesting threads, I tell you. It's interesting people. Thank you for being who you are. And I guess that, our job is going to be to vote, is to ensure that we vote. We cast our votes that can bring about a change here. We can no longer sit on the sidelines. This is not a sideline position. For the first time, I contributed to the campaign. Had to. You got to. You got an individual who can go up in front of billionaire oil executives and say to them, if you can't trip to my campaign, I'll make sure your tax burden for oil goes away. I'll make sure all the legislation goes away for you so you can just drill till you get, just drill, baby. That's what he says, drill, baby. That's what he meant. Everything he's going to do, he's going to drill, baby. That's what he said throughout a conference. Anyway. And I was, I want to thank Believe Radio and 24-Hour Inspirational Gospel Channel. Curtis, thanks for your help. Adam, thanks. Miss Howard will be back in 2 weeks. Do her show. Look forward to that. Been a minute. She's been busy. A lot of things going on. Everybody's got things going on. No doubt. And this is August, and that's National Business Month, National Black Business Month. And I would say, isn't that self-explanatory? I would say particularly engaged in African American businesses. They're responsible for job creation and quality of life and just maintaining our heritage. They're our hearts, and they're responsible for all those things, choice and chance. But like everything else, keep the promises, do good business, do honest business practices, don't act like your colleague trying to steal, don't shrimp on the products. This is August, and it's like always take up what things are going on in August. And the piece that I saw was for the month of August, don't be a bully month. What's a bully? So a bully is a person who habitually seeks to harm, intimidate, or coerce others, particularly those who are perceived as vulnerable. Bullying behavior can take many forms, including physical violence, verbal harassment, social exclusion, and online harassment, cyberbullying. Next level. The implications of bullying behavior are far-reaching and affect both victims and perpetrators. A lot of this stuff I'm putting in the definition of GPT chat. If I agree with them, I put them on. If I don't, I don't. I look for better sources. But this is pretty good. Why do I bring up bullying? Because you're witnessing it now. It's kind of not real good for leadership to be bullies. And what types of, what is bullying? Bullying can be physical, involves physical aggression such as hitting, pushing, or damaging someone's belongings. Verbal bullying includes name calling, insults, threats, and derogatory comments. Social or relational bullying aimed at damaging someone's social relationships or reputation through gossip, exclusion, or manipulation. Cyberbullying using digital platforms such as social media to harass, embarrass, or threaten someone. Isn't that wild? Did you know that many forms of bullying? I didn't know that. And I've been in medicine for a minute. So, wow. What are the implications for bullying behavior? Emotional and psychological effects. Victims of bullying often experience anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and feelings of helplessness. These effects can persist long after the bullying is ended and may lead to more severe mental health issues, including self-harm and suicidal thoughts. Academic and social impact. Bullying can cause decline in academic performance as victims may struggle to concentrate, skip school, or drop out, although socially victims may withdraw from peers, struggle to form healthy relationships, and experience loneliness and isolation. That's bullying that's what's so devastating. That's when the younger it happens, it's terrible. It's terrible for people. It's a self-esteem issue. It's a safety issue. It's a public health issue. Academic and social impact. Bullying can cause a decline in academic performance as victims may struggle to concentrate, skip school, or drop out, although socially victims may withdraw from peers, struggle to form healthy relationships, and experience loneliness and isolation. Physical health problems. The chronic stress from bullying can lead to physical health problems such as headaches, sleep disturbances, stomach issues, and in extreme cases, physical bullying can result in serious injury. And perpetuation of aggressive behavior. Bullies can often continue aggressive behavior until adulthood, which can manifest in criminal activities, abusive relationships, and difficulty maintaining positive social interactions. Social and economic consequences. Bullies may struggle with empathy, develop an inflated sense of power, and have difficulty forming healthy relationships. They may also experience guilt or shame, especially if they have come to recognize the harm they've caused, and if they don't, they're sociopaths. Legal and disciplinary action. In some cases, bullying can lead to legal consequences, particularly if it involves harassment, assault, or other criminal activities. School and workplace may impose disciplinary actions, including suspension, expulsion, or termination. Preparation of a toxic culture. What's for society? Bullying contributes to a toxic environment in schools, workplaces, and community. It fosters cultures of fear, mistrust, which can inhibit collaboration, innovation, and personal growth. Impact on mental health system. On the mental health system. The physiological impact of bullying can on both victims and perpetrators can lead to increasing demand for mental health services on a broad scale. Again, cost impact to the society, community. Normalization of violence and behavior is the one that gets me. When bullying behavior is not addressed, it can normalize aggression, intolerance, prejudice, perpetuating cycles of violence and discrimination within the society. They just have to cancel Taylor Swift's concert because these 18-year-old young men had decided that they were going to blow the place up. Young men, 18. Guy that I saw, he didn't look 18, but 18. Had everything in the car. They had fake money. They had incinerate products. He was gonna cause havoc. Conclusion. Bullying is a destructive behavior with serious implications for individuals and society as a whole. Addressing bullying requires a comprehensive approach that includes education, prevention, intervention, support for both victims and perpetrators. And by fostering empathy, respect, and inclusivity, we can work towards creating environments where bullying is less likely to occur and where everyone feels safe. I think Kamala Harris is taking on the bully, and she's beating up the bully. I don't like to say it. She is addressing the bully's behavior, and he is disarmed because no one's done that. And again, responding positively to the negative. That's what leadership should do. And I guess some other great things in August are World Breastfeeding Month and Week. They breastfeeding really benefits the child and the mother. Again, it has to be taken into account for, with infant mortality rates. With maternal mortality rates. This needs to be a concert, holistic, whole approach addressing women of color that are getting pregnant so that they bring term and that they survive the pregnancy. Just has to be done. Prisoner Justice Day, I guess self-explanatory, right? Well, yeah, conditions in prisons, I've worked in prisons. It could be absolutely horrible. And they can create a psychological and social divide that with people returning from prison aren't the same example of imprisoning where they close that woman's prison because of sexual abuse. Those women will never be the same. And then they transfer them to places that, weren't like Pleasanton. Pleasanton was really a nice place. There's no nice place to be in jail, but in terms of like grass and area and just being able to go and sun themselves on a weekend, you couldn't do it. And I guess it's very interesting the last couple of weeks. And the other one is Emmett Till. Emmett Till was a young black man who was murdered by two white men and mutilated for supposedly whistling or being disrespectful to a white woman, which he denies and the family denied, which the family denied. And his mother, as a show of force, had an open casket ceremony. I bring it up because it was 1955. I was just born. He'd be murdered in August, I think. So it's been a very interesting couple of weeks. Joe Biden struggling, from struggling to Kamala Harris rising, and the stars rising, the stars align, right? And we need to be comfortable with change. We always are benefits. There are always benefits of change. If you don't change, you'll be changed by the change. It's a great thing that we can and should. And I do believe there's a turning point. In terms of the American society, whether it be African American, or white, or Indian, or European, or Asian, or European descent, Native American, all American. And we'll make this change by voting, become actively involved in all the aspects of this fight for democracy. And why am I talking about this on supposedly a health show? Because it's a health issue. It's a public health issue. They're talking about cutting Social Security, Medicare. They want to repeal Obamacare. They want to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which most Americans love. And again, we need to be supportive of this journey because it's a journey that we're all taking. And we have a universe and two competing narratives and how this will be played out. That's going to be the key. And I think that early on in this discussion, the race card was played. And it's always been played. We just were kind of not discussing it. And so the challenge of ethnicity, but first call her American and then call her ethnicity because we are a gumbo. We are a entire mix of people, not just one group. And I think that that's something that needs to be appreciated. That's the narrative. That's the competing narrative. And of course, it's a racial stereotype and a trope, and something that's kind of beneath, I would think, the ex-president of the United States, but I guess not. And we shouldn't be even talking about race in 2024, but it's as American as apple pie. And that's where the word, for me, I had to digress and say, what is word salad? Word salad is a term used to describe the confused or meaningless mixture of words and phrases when speaking, because I heard this referred to Trump and to Kamala Harris, and I had to go, word salad. And it is, I only thought about it in psychiatric terms, right? Most schizophrenics have a word salad appeal. And it says that, so, of course, doing the standard mental exam test, word salads can be found in various contexts, but are especially common among people with certain mental health conditions or neurological disorders such as schizophrenia or dementia. So you can decide on what perspective either one of them are on. Those affected may struggle to communicate their thoughts coherently, leading to sentences that lack logical structure, contain some nonsensical words and phrases, and make little sense overall. Haven't we all spoke that way sometime? I know I have. Particularly when I was first starting, I was trying to explain some basic concepts in medicine to patients, and it was word salad. That means I had to go back and learn what I was trying to explain. And so word salads are often accompanied by symptoms related to underlying illness and can cause distress for both speaker and those around. Is word salad a thought disorder? While word salad can be considered a symptom of a thought disorder that is a part of an underlying psychiatric neurological condition, it is not itself classified as a diagnosis. Thought disorders are characterized by cognitive disturbances, problems with thinking, that lead to disorganization in the form of content of language, leading to difficulties with communication, problem solving, and decision making. That's the executive function of your brain. So when people use these terms, do they know what they're saying? Because it can imply a whole bunch of things if you don't know the definition. We all have spoken word salad. The problem is, do you speak in word salad in the middle of a press conference trying to elucidate a point about whatever? Word salads occur when a person lacks the ability to organize their thoughts into coherent sentences or phrases. Word salads commonly contain words or phrases that are unrelated in meaning, and some may even include made-up words. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Okay. And there's some other stuff, clanging, aphasia. But again, people need to be careful about these terms. It does say that word salad is also a frequent symptom of schizophrenia, in which case it may be called schizophagia. Word salads created by people with schizophrenia can range from short, confused sentences to lengthy streams of unrelated words. Word salad is also common among those who experience psychotic episodes from certain psychiatric conditions. So we all speak confused sometimes. That's when it lasts too long. Now, and so I only brought that up to say the discussion of race in America. And I asked GBT chat, race in America, mixed race, defined Black. What are the differences between myth and reality and the purpose of? And I'm going to answer this discussion around Mr. Trump bringing up whether Vice President Harris was Black. And we'll talk about that, and I'll kind of emphasize some of the things that happen when someone does what he just did. It says, okay, the concept of race in America, particularly when it comes to mixed race individuals and the classification of people as Black, is deeply intertwined with historical, social, and political context. In other words, it's history. Understanding myths versus the realities and the purpose these classifications have served requires understanding several key points. Myth. Race is a biological reality. Race is a social construct. Social construct, go look it up. Not a biological fact. While their social construct says that it's the norm of the society. It's what they decided it to be. It could have been pink, yellow, blue, or bling, but they chose race and shades of colors. Race is a social construct, not a biological fact. While there are physical differences among people from different regions, the idea of a distinct race with specific traits and abilities is not supported by science. The human genome is 99.9% identical across all humans, regardless of race. I'll read that again. The human genome is about 99.9% identical across humans regarding of all humans regardless of race. So we all contain the same matter. We're no different. Myth: being mixed race means being between two races. Reality: mixed race individuals are often seen as being in between two or more racial groups, but their experiences and identities are unique and cannot be simplified into a general mix. They may face challenges in how they are perceived by society, but their identity is complex and multifaceted. So you can be Black, you can be Indian, you can be Asian, all at the same time. Myth: one drop rule means blackness. Reality: the one drop rule, a concept that any person with even one ancestor of African descent is considered Black, was a legal and social tool used to maintain social purity and segregation during slavery and Jim Crow. I've always related back to slavery and our discussions, and as it relates to 1619, and it's the fulcrum of this issue. A chattel system called slavery in America, and an institution for 300 years that ended in the Civil War. In reality, race is more fluid and many people identify with multiple heritages, challenging the rigid boundaries that that the one drop rule imposed. It would always relate this to gender and sex. Myth: mixed race people have a confused identity. Reality: while white mixed race individuals may identify challenges, while mixed race individuals may face identity challenges, they often develop a strong, multifaceted sense of self that draws from multiple cultures. Their identity is not inherently confused, but rather enriched by diverse influences, as we all are. So I want to stop here. And so the mere fact that the ex-president Trump would raise a discussion around whether someone's Black enough to a bunch of Black people in a setting where he was supposed to be talking about why we should vote for him shows you how inappropriate he is. Word salad, right? Yeah. Myth: race determines ability and character. So, addressing the discussion of calling her stupid, which in itself is stupid. Stereotypes and prejudices have long suggested that race determines a person's abilities, intelligence, or moral character. Well, in that case, she's a lawyer. She's accomplished on a number of levels of government, starting with her work as a prosecutor. So what bar are we trying to raise or unraise? Or character or moral character? She doesn't have 35 felonies. However, these are baseless and harmful generalizations that ignore the individual people and the influence of culture, opportunity, and environment. The purpose of racial classification: historically, control and segregation. Racial classification, particularly the definition of Blackness, were historically used to enforce systems of control such as slavery and segregation. These classifications determine social status, legal rights, and economic opportunities, often to the detriment of those classified as Black. And let me be clear, she's always said, I know who he is. This is who he is. I've dealt with him before. Remember, the environment that Kamala Harris had to work in was usually male, usually patriarchal, usually top male white heavy. And she had to get along with him and get her job done. Cultural identity and community. For many, racial identity, including mixed race identity, is a source of cultural pride and community. It connects individuals to a shared history, cultural struggle, offering a sense of belonging. Unlike 1619, where you were ripped and brought on this shore, and if you were one of those 20, which we were, you lost all contact with your African ancestors from that point on. Social stratification and racial classifications have been perpetuated. Social stratification where certain races have historically been privileged over others. This has led to systemic inequalities in wealth, education, healthcare, and other areas of life. Conclusion. Understanding myths versus realities of race, especially in the context of mixed race individuals and the Black identity in America, is crucial for addressing racial inequalities and fostering a more inclusive society. Race, while not a biological reality, remains a powerful social construct with real-world implications. You will not replace me. You will not replace me. You will not replace me. It's essential to challenge the myths and work for a society where race is not determined, where race is not determined of one's opportunity and value. The context of your character versus the color of your skin. Martin Luther King said that. And gets me to another point that I brought up almost 2 years back. And it's the marginalization of an African American woman. And I started and I talked about this because I want to reemphasize it. 1892, rival organizations, the National Women's Suffrage Association and the American Women's Suffrage Association, merged to form the National American Suffrage Association. The National Women's Suffrage Association considered the Northeast Federation of Colored Women's Clubs to be a liability to the association due to Southern white women's attitudes toward Black women getting the vote. Southern whites fear African Americans gaining more political advantage and thus power. African American women voters would help to achieve this change. We're talking about 1809. The women's suffrage movement. The women's suffrage movement began with women such as Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, and progressed to women like Ida B. Wells, Mary Church Terrell, Ella Baker, Rosa Parks, Angela Davis, and many of others. All these women play very important roles, such as contributing to the growing progress effort to end African American women's disenfranchisement. These women were discriminated against, abused, and raped by white Southerners and Northerners, yet they remained strong and persistent, and that strength has been passed down from generation to generation. It still carries on in African American families today. African American women have been political activists for their entire history on the American continent, but long denied the right to vote and hold office, and have resorted to non-traditional politics. In her arrest in 1970, Angela Davis became a political prisoner. National and international protests to free Angela were mobilized around the world. During the 2 years she spent in prison, Davis wrote essays on injustice and prepared as a co-counsel of her own defense. Eventually, Davis was released on bail in 1972 and later acquitted of all criminal charges at her trial. Now, this young woman, Amos Igabaka, in 22 penned this piece around the strong Black woman. We've talked about this. And it's a unique discussion I've talked about before. We're going to talk about it again because, again, what we're up against are the stereotypes and tropes since slavery, since 1860, since the suffrage movement. America is frightened of Black women in power. It's the worst thing they think can happen because Black women in power usually aren't co-opted. They have the agenda of the people at hand. Ask Barbara Lee. The strong black woman schema, as defined by scholars, is an archetype of how the ideal black woman should act. It's been characterized by three components: emotional restraint, independence, and caretaking. A strong black woman must back their emotions to avoid appearing weak, portray themselves as strong, independent, while being responsible for the problems of others and taking care of those problems if they were their own. Stemming from stereotypes of enslaved black women, the schema grew from the intersection oppression of black women who face from social expectations. The notion that as a woman they must uphold feminine standards, but as a black woman they must balance those with the responsibilities of being emotionally strong, also known as intersectionality. Some examples of the ideal strong black woman in today's society are Michelle Obama, Oprah, Beyonce, Serena Williams. So I'm talking about this because that's what hangs over Kamala Harris's head. That's the stereotypes that raised over Kamala Harris' head. That was the trope that ex-President Trump used during the conference to make a signal. He wanted to let those that support him know that he would be in control here. And they didn't let that happen. And she hasn't let it happen. Black women are not all offered the same opportunities, but are still held to the same standard of being almost indestructible. That's why the strong black woman is considered a schema, because schemas are manageable and therefore are ever changing as society expectations of womanhood and strength evolve. The impact and the effect of slavery and a constant trauma, post-traumatic slave syndrome by Dr. Ducuri, multi-general trauma, still going uphill. And she penned this article, The Problem with Strong Black Women Narrative. The strong black woman has been standing tall for many decades. She is unbreakable, resilient, almost superhuman. She is selfless, strength, and personified, the type of woman that can stand all kinds of tribulations and come out even stronger. The human embodiment of the maximum, and that does it. The maximum that what does not kill you makes you stronger. So, the problem with this seeming empowering depiction of black women, prior to the strong black woman trope, there were negative stereotypes of black women. The mammy, a nurturing, friendly, always smiling black woman, generally a slave or servant who functioned solely to serve the needs of the white family. The Jezebel, which portrayed black women as sexual, insatiable, animalistic in their desires. And the Sapphire, known as the angry black woman, depicting black women as irrational, quick-tempered, and impossible to work with. Now, that's a real trip, because growing up, I felt that way about my mother, but as I became an adult, now I understand what she was doing. And she was ahead of her time. That's why I acknowledge her. You may have felt that way as a young black man, but if your mom was on point, you stayed out of trouble. And if she wasn't on point, you were afraid of her and you didn't want to make her unhappy. So it was only a small percentage with but wild. The strong black woman was initially conceived by black women to subvert those negative stereotypes. However, its popularity in TV and film has created the popularity in TV and film has created a stereotype that is as dangerous as those it intended to replace. Stereotypes are important to reflect upon and to challenge because they are powerful tools are used to shape black women, uh, and to shape how black women are seen in society and how we see ourselves. Movies, right? Foxy Brown, all those movies, you know, Shaft, yeah, stuff like that. Uh, Stereotypes are important to reflect upon and to challenge because they are powerful tools used to shape how black women are seen in society and how we see ourselves. They are social mechanisms used for perpetuating inequality. Some are used out of ignorance, while others are meant as a compliment. But when it comes to inequality, oppression, or exclusion, intent has nothing to do with impact, and impact isn't what actually counts. Strong is a loaded word when you use it to describe black women. It's beautiful, but it's also dangerous. It both boys and birds. Black women with the myth that we are perpetually tough and uniquely indestructible. It can be a double-edged sword. So I'm reading this. I want people to absorb it because that is the sort of Damocles hanging over Kamala Harris's head, and it's an unfair one. It's unfair. Talk about being minimized. They're trying to paint her into a corner that she refuses to be painted into, and it's uncomfortable now. The bully's being hit in the mouth. Many women find undeniable truth, liberation, and empowerment in the strong black woman trope. This is really, I love the way she writes too. There are times when we assume that black women's resilience, the kind that allows us to face racism and sexism on a daily basis, still maintain our sanity and our health. We walk out of our houses every day putting in on our armor in anticipation of experiencing racial discrimination in some form. We invoke historical strength of our foremothers to tell each other, you can do it. The strength is real and should in no way be diminished. But the reality is that preparation and anticipation of navigating daily microaggressions is a persistent and significant stressor that adds to our overall stress. Imagine being called stupid for absolutely no reason. And running as the vice president, did you call any of those people that you ran against stupid? You called them some other things, but you didn't call them stupid. Disrespectful. And she said it, disrespectful. We know research that stress impacts health, both physical and mental. Not only do black women continue to have higher rates of physical illness with poor quality of care, they also experience higher rates of depression than their white counterparts, and we know more likely to receive and they never get the treatment they need. Giving black women superhero qualities is overcorrection that's simply limited in a different way. It's a label that promotes the perception of unwavering strength while simultaneously dismissing the presence of pain or struggle for a black woman who are strong and resilient. Ultimately, the strong black woman or stereotype is an albatross at odds with our very survival. Too often, we ourselves bend to the pressure and we dare not give in to our vulnerabilities. So, former President Trump has finally agreed to the debate, with Vice President Harris. I think he should. I think we need to see that. And it's clear in the space of 3 weeks she's been running on track star status. Like, you might call her, this has been the Olympics of politics for her. And I guess it's frustrating. On the other side, we see American front and center, its ugliest parts. They attack a woman, they call her names because and nothing else better because they program is weird and bizarre. And I think that folks need to realize that as you read and people parse and give you information on Project 25, and you learn yourself. Go read about it yourself. It's almost 900 pages to understand. And it's important. And I think that we need to understand that. And I think that as consider yourself, again, it's issue around stress and trauma. Strong Black women are strong because society demands that of them every day. They are taught to push through, keep going, and endure difficult times in a world that doesn't afford them the luxury of showing signs of weakness or vulnerability. They are denied the right to for fluctuating emotions and a multifaceted personality. Black women are expected to be persistent and embody self-confidence that doesn't resemble the treatment that they've been receiving. Our silence and our invisibility shape the stereotype and the expectation that Black women remain strong at any cost. As a result, Black women are paying the price for this myth. They're multidimensional beings, human, you might say. They're emotional, cry, they're vulnerable. They can be defeated at times and need to hold them up. The way the burden, hey, it's heavy. My mom said, "You can't be a Black woman, son." I said, "You're absolutely right." I was even thinking about it. I couldn't think why I could. The danger of strong Black women is that it excludes everybody else from responsibility by minimizing the severe issues that they face. Living in the intersection of two marginalized groups, it suggests that we don't need help, and we don't require support. Not only can they can handle able to handle everything, but all things. It makes it hard for others to see Black women in the full spectrum of a lived experience. And the expectation is performed that they perform like superhumans while being treated as subhuman. It also is difficult for Black women to see themselves. It's time to stop expecting Black women to be strong and start allowing us to be human. Strong is not the rent we pay to exist as Black women in this world. We don't owe the world our spirit if it means breaking it. So this sister was magnificent, I think, in the discussion. I don't think can put it any better. You have to take time to heal, take care of yourself. I want this to be a discussion with the hurdles that Kamala Harris is facing and will continue to face, and we just support her. This sugar high shouldn't go down because she's a great person doing great things, putting herself and her family at risk to run against a tyrant. And we should support her. The most radical thing society can do for Black women is to throw off the shackles forged by the strong Black woman stereotype and therefore them full and complex humanity that allows us to be capable, strong, independent, but also cared for and cared with. We need a world in which Black women can truly accept the allowing for physical and emotional vulnerability is not weakness, but humanness. A world in which Black women don't need to be so strong. A world in which they can be celebrated for everything else they can be. A world that sees them fully human. Helicopter crashes. Willie Brown. Do you remember? Is he losing it? And how would that relate to African Americans? I am concerned. I want to thank you for tuning in. It's been great. I appreciate all your support and guidance and help. And see you next week. And I'm going to share with you about the ordinance drafted by Berkeley Rent Stabilization Board. Good stuff. We'll talk about it and continue our discussion. And once again, thank you for tuning in and watching, and just appreciate you all.